Did you recently purchase a Cricut machine and you're curious about all of the blades? Do you need them? What are they for? Is it going to work for your project? Today I'm going to go over the ultimate guide for all of the Cricut blades, so make sure you guys stay tuned all the way to the end because you guys don't want to miss a thing. Hi, I'm Crystal with Design Bundle's YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell down below so you guys do not miss any of our crafting tutorials. Blade number one, let's go over the fine point blade as well as the premium housing. The fine point blade is included with all of your Cricut machines. So whether you guys buy the Cricut Explorer models, whether it's the Cricut Explorer, Explorer 2, or the Cricut Explorer 3, same with the Maker or the Joy, they're all going to come with the fine point blade, which is the silver one right here. Now for the Joy, it's just gonna be a little bitty baby one. You definitely cannot transfer this fine point blade that came from the Cricut Explorer and the Maker into the Joy, and you can't transfer the Joy into either one of these machines. So the Joy is much smaller. So these are the exact same blade across the board, and this is going to cover you over a variety of projects, which we'll get into in just a second. But you also have this guy here, which is very confusing. So we have this gold one here, and this is called the premium housing. So the blades inside are exactly the same, but it's just the different colored housing. So why would you purchase that? Do you need to purchase it? Definitely do not need to purchase it. But what I like to have it for is if you're going to be cutting cardstock along with your adhesive vinyl or HTV, you may want to consider purchasing two different colors here. So you're going to have your silver, buy yourself the gold one. So you can say the silver is for all of your paper crafts, and then your gold one would be for all of your adhesive vinyl and your HTV. What's going to happen is when you cut everything with this one blade, all of your paper crafts, including all of your adhesive vinyl and your HTV and all of those things, you're going to dull this blade with the paper. So paper will dull your blade a whole lot faster than your adhesive vinyl and HTV. So having this guy dedicated to your adhesive vinyl and HTV, well, this guy's gonna last a very, very long time. And then you don't have to worry about when you load this in, there's not gonna be any sort of paper debris inside, because the one thing about these, when you push them, that's how you change the blade for one. For two, you can push on it like this and that will also clear any sort of debris. When you're cutting cardstock, you will get debris built up into this, and you may notice that your cuts are not the best when it comes to your adhesive vinyl and your HTV. So that's just that. This one right here, like I said, is included with all of your machines, and it will cut a variety of things. So let's go over that now. I'm gonna go ahead and set these guys back down really quickly. All right, so let's go over some of the projects that you're gonna be able to make with that fine point blade, like I said, right out of the box. So you can cut paper, you can cut adhesive vinyl, you can cut HTV, you can cut some leathers, as well as some felt and fabrics. You can really kind of get away with it still, but there is other blades that's gonna make those things a whole lot better, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. For a paper craft example, you can do something like an exploding card box if you wanted to. There is cards, there is print and cut projects. You're gonna see some more paper crafts as I go along, and I'll refer that back to a paper craft project, but paper flowers, I mean, you name it, it is endless whenever it comes to the paper craft projects. Speaking of cards, when it comes to the Cricut Joy, this was actually really designed for card projects, which is perfect. So you can make cards like this. Cricut has designed these cards that have inserts and the envelopes and all of the things. So you cut out those little corners, it pops in, and then you're gonna see that through there. So really, really designed for the cards, but not only that, you can do any of these projects here, but in smaller scale. You just can't do that print and cut. But you're gonna be able to do your paper flowers, all of that, same with this little guy. I wanted to point out about the cards being specifically designed for that Cricut Joy. Now, Cricut did come up with a mat that holds 4 different cards, so you can still create those cards with these Cricut machines. Now, whenever it comes to adhesive vinyl, the possibilities are endless. So right here is just a really quick example of a lot of different things that you can do with adhesive vinyl. I mean, you can make card decals, you can make signs, you can make stencils to make signs, you can hand paint them, or maybe create a stencil for a doormat. You can also do that with freezer paper as well, which you guys can also cut with that fine point blade. But when it comes to adhesive vinyl, you could do coffee cups, personalize the side of a tumbler, anything that you can stick that adhesive vinyl on, you're gonna be able to customize. Next up is HTV. Now HTV is heat transfer vinyl, also known as iron-on. So Cricut calls it iron-on, and your fine point blade is going to cut that. Like I said, I definitely do recommend getting a separate housing for that, but you could definitely just keep it all together. Trust me, I've been doing it for years, but if you are somebody that wants to really prolong your blade and keep those separate, that is definitely something that you can do. But here's an example. Here is creating like a really fun sweatshirt, but HTV projects, you're talking about t-shirts, you could do pillowcases, aprons, hand towels. There is just so many different things that you guys can make with your heat transfer vinyl. All right, so that pretty much wraps up our fine point blade, but just to go over a few more things, like I was telling you, you can cut crepe paper, you can cut the freezer paper, like I said, which is perfect for stencils. You can cut acetate, which is also perfect for stencils, or maybe you're gonna make some shaker cards. You can cut a light chipboard with this. An example of that is a cereal box. You can take your cereal boxes, cut those down to a nice square, and load those in there. You can make scrapbooks out of those, notebooks, and wrap them in fabric and felt and all of those kinds of things. You could glue two of them together, but there's even a little bit of a thinner chipboard than that you guys could definitely purchase and cut. Poster boards, you name it. There's just so many different things that you guys could cut with that. For our next blade, we're gonna go over the fabric blade as well as the rotary blade. Now we're getting into two different blades, two different machines. This blade can still go in the Cricut Maker as well as the Explorer. So keep in mind, any blades that can go into the Explorer can go into the Maker. The Maker blades cannot go into the Explorer models as well as the Joy. So the Joy has its own blades, the Maker has its own, but it can also use the Explorer. So the Explorer cannot use the Maker blades, just to be clear on that. So when I talk about this fabric blade, you can still use that here. So you don't have to go out and purchase this rotary blade if you don't want to. You can definitely use this little fabric bonded one if you already have it on hand. This little guy is going to help you go a little bit further than using this blade right here. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the details. So this one is called the fabric bonded blade. The reason why it's called bonded is if you're going to be cutting fabric with your Cricut Explorer models, you need to put a bonding on the back, which is this really kind of thick layer that just goes on the back of your fabric to help keep it steady so it can actually cut. Now, what is bonded when it comes to fabric? There is this material, I'll have it linked down below for you guys. It is this bonding that goes on the back. So you're gonna take an iron, get it on there. It's just a clear, thicker material that's going to go on the back side of your fabric, and what that's going to do is keep it nice and steady and straight, which is going to allow this to cut it. Because if you try to cut this without it being bonded, it could try to just gum up your fabric and just kind of really mess it up and make things messy. So when it comes to cutting fabric, sometimes I do even recommend that for the felt, but honestly, I've got away with cutting the felt without the bonded. The only one I do bond is the fabric, like I said. So there is a two-step process when it comes to using this, but you can still cut fabric with your Cricut Explorer machines. You just need to put that bonding on the back. And then when it comes to felt, like I said, I don't usually mess with that. I just usually purchase the felt from like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Usually it's like 49 cents or so. And you can cut lots of different felt projects with this, which like I said, I'll get into some examples here in a minute. When it comes to the rotary tool, this guy is going to be able to cut fabric and felt without it being bonded on the back. So you can load any piece of fabric, nice and thin and flowy. You're going to be able to load it on here, and it's going to cut it like a dream. And it's just like if you had a rotary blade and you were in your sewing room and you were just cutting with that blade, this guy's going to do the same thing. It is so cool because it kind of stomps down and it turns and does all of the really cool stuff. So this guy right here, like I said, is going to cut your fabric as well as your felt. Now you can even cut some leathers with this as well. Here at Design Bundles, we actually have a ton of sewing projects if you guys did not know, but this is so adorable. There's actually a few different ones to choose from, but you would be able to cut these pieces out and then just stitch this guy together. We have tons of no-sew projects, so if that's something you're interested in as well, you could cut out, make your own little zipper bags and lots of different things like that, from keychains, so much stuff that you guys can actually do with fabric. For our next example is felt. So you can do something like this where you make these little felt animals. I remember when I was in elementary school, a mom had brought a board, like a poster board or something, that had felt on it, and then she had little characters like this, and she created like a whole scene. It was really awesome to do. You could create those for the kiddos, but we have tons of different felt projects as well. You could make the kiddos their very own, like the little donuts, all of the pieces to make the hamburgers. Felt projects are so much fun, and I have made many of them with my Cricut. Once again, you can hand stitch those. You could do no-sew. There's actually a fabric hot glue stick you guys can use as well. You can definitely cut felt when it comes to both of these machines. And like I said, even with a Cricut Explorer, you could get away. You really don't have to have bonded. Just make sure you get something a little bit thicker, and you're gonna be good to go. Next up is the deep point blade, as well as the knife blade for the Cricut Maker. Now I'm going to have an image right here of the deep point blade because I could not find mine before I got started. But it has the black housing, and that blade is different. It actually sticks out more than your fine point blade, and so it allows it to penetrate deeper into those materials, allowing you to cut things like leather, chipboard, as well as your heavier craft board. So lots of different things that you guys can actually cut with that deep point blade. Now when it comes to the knife blade, this is going to cut some of those as well. Now with the Cricut Maker, it may still ask you to put in that deep point blade when it comes to some of those leathers because you don't need something like this, but this is going to cut something like tooling leather. This is going to cut some balsa woods. You're going to have heavy chipboard, you name it. There's lots of different thicker materials that you guys are going to be able to cut with this knife blade. Another thing that this is good for as well is craft foam. So this is going to really get into those thicker, a little bit harder materials, and then you're going to have that deep point blade for your Cricut Explorer model, like I said, to get into your leather. So let me go ahead and show you a couple examples. For example, whenever it comes to cutting leather with that deep point blade and even doing some tooling leather with your knife blade, you can make things like this. Lots and lots of different leather projects, but this one right here is going to be a wireless earbud cover. So much fun, and then it even includes a tassel that you guys can make as well. So this is actually included in a bundle that I have currently available right now. And if it's not available anymore when you guys are watching this, you can definitely still purchase this separately, but this is a really fun project to be able to make with your Cricut. Another really fun leather project that I love making with my Cricut is these leather bows. So these are actually leather hair bows. You could make them clips if you want to. We have so many different styles to choose from, but these butterflies are just gorgeous. So it's gonna allow you to get those shapes in there. So easy to put together, and you're just gonna simply use a hot glue gun, a little hair tie, or like I said, a clip. So much fun to make, and I've been making them for a long time. And when it comes to your Cricut knife blade, you can actually make projects like this that you would actually see made with a Glowforge. So there is a lot of projects that are made for laser that you can get away with using with your knife blade. So you can cut things like balsa wood here and layer those up to get those different layers. You could use like a heavy chipboard, you name it. So many different things that you guys are going to be able to do. So don't dismiss, if you guys have a Cricut Maker and you have that knife blade, don't dismiss those laser files because you can definitely pull it off with your Cricut Maker. Now before I get into our next blade, if you will, is going to be our scoring wheel as well as that scoring stylus, but I wanted to show you this container here because Cricut has made a container for your Cricut Maker tools. If you guys have a Cricut Maker, Cricut Explorer, you guys actually do have these cubbies right here that do hold your extra blades as well as replacement blades and all of that kind of stuff. So you can store all of these guys in here, but Cricut did make one specifically for the Maker. But the reason why I'm showing you this is whenever it comes to the Cricut Maker, you can actually just purchase one of these housings. So it comes apart. So if you push this right here, you can swap these out. So you could just own one of the housings. So that would be the only thing you'd have to store. You can even store them in here if you wanted to. So you would just have one of these guys, and then you're just going to pop this out, and then Cricut has it to where you just pop your top off, just like this. You're gonna twist it. And then down there in the bottom, it's gonna hold all of those extra tips. So when you pull that off, you can just pop it right down in there, just like so, and swap them out. So our next one here is going to be our scoring wheel. So when it comes to our scoring wheel, you actually have two. You have one and then you have two. So the one is gonna be for just regular copy paper, cardstock, medium cardstock, heavy cardstock, and things like that. And then your thicker one, which is gonna be two of them, that's gonna be for your craft half board as well as your poster board. So you know that that stuff's a little bit thicker, and when you go to fold it, you could actually get some cracks in your material, where that 2 blade is going to allow it to have a nice fold. So that's what that one's going to be for. But a majority, you're probably just going to use this single blade. So I'm going to go ahead and load this. Like I said, just going to grab it. We're going to go ahead and just pop it on to the housing. So definitely just need one of these guys, and then you can just purchase your tips. Jumping into our next blade, we have the Cricut Stylus as well as the Cricut Scoring Wheel 1 and 2. For the Cricut Stylus and the Cricut Scoring Wheel, you may say, well, those aren't a blade. Well, technically they're not a blade, but they are a tool that does go with your machine. So although it's not a blade that's going to actually put a cut line on it, it's going to put a score line for us. So if you want to have a card that you can fold in half, so say for example, I was just making a birthday card, but I want it to score the line for me, you can definitely use this. So you can use this in both the Cricut Explorer as well as the Cricut Maker. So if you own the Stylus, you definitely do not have to purchase your scoring wheel unless, for example, you definitely just want to do that. So if you want to have all of the tools and you want to have, for example, the one with the 2, so that way you could do the poster boards and all of those things, you may want to go ahead and snag it. But honestly, for most projects, you're going to get away with your scoring stylus that you probably already have on hand. There's lots of projects when it comes to using our scoring stylus as well as that scoring wheel. So for example, some boxes require those creases for fold lines. It could be those 3D letters. It could be a birthday card, Christmas card, so that way you can fold them in half. Lots and lots of things you can use that scoring stylus. I promise you guys are going to use that. Maybe not all of the time, but it's definitely going to come in handy. Here's an example right here. Is these really fun cards. These ones are for St. Patrick's, but we have them across the board. Christmas, Valentine's, Easter, lots and lots of different holidays. But this one here is for St. Patrick's. And what it is, you can either have the score line or don't. But what I love about that score line is it's going to score right in the middle, and it's going to allow you to fold it in half. So that way you can kind of add some tape if you want to and just kind of have it in half, or you can keep them folded out. So I really, really love that feature here. Next up is the Perforation blade. What is the Perforation blade? What does it do? Do I need it? I think this is probably the most questionable blade. I know when I first got it, I was sitting there thinking, what do I need this for? What is it gonna do? It's actually really, really neat. So I'm gonna show you an example. This is something we already have the Perforation for you, but this is something that you can definitely do to create these really pull tabs. So do you remember whenever you would go to like bingo and they'd have those pull tabs and you'd pull all those pieces? That's what this is gonna do for you. So for example, we have these candy domes like this, and the way that we created them was on the back side. So this piece that cuts out, this is the perforation. So this is a punch. You grab that little piece there, that little tab, and it just peels open. It is so cool. So you can create your very own. So all you're going to do, say for example, you had a circle inside of Cricut Design Space, you're going to tell it that you're going to change it from a basic cut to the perforation. So it's going to do that. It is going to be amazing. It's a really cool tool to make a perforation with this. All you're simply going to do, say for example, that I was going to do a heart. So I was going to take this heart shape here and I want to put this on the back of my candy dome so it's going to peel off. You're going to come up here to operation at the top where it says basic cut, and we want to change that to a perforate. And you're going to notice now it has these little dash lines, so it's just going to allow you to peel that. It creates its very own peel tab. It is just amazing. I love it. It's just a ton of fun. You could definitely create some really fun shaker cards to where the back, just peels off. Maybe the kids' money's in there and they have to peel it and it shakes out all the glitter. Possibilities are endless when it comes to the perforation tool. Next up is the Wavy blade. For the Wavy blade, you may be asking yourself, why on earth do we need the Wavy blade? The Wavy blade is going to cut like this. So instead of it cutting a straight line, it's just going to have a little bit of a wave to it. A perfect example for this is these keychain tassels. So you guys can see I have this project here to create these. So it's going to cut those lines like this. But if I change it to using the Wavy, these are going to be wavy. So it's going to be really cool. It's going to have a wavy cut instead of a straight line. So that's a great example. You may want to do it on the edges of your flowers when you're making those paper flowers. So lots of different things as well to do with that Wavy tool, but basically it comes down to aesthetics, if you will, of just creating from a straight line to a wavy. Next up is the engraving tool. Our next blade here is the engraving tool that has this nice little sharp point on it, what can you do with it? It is awesome because you can definitely engrave on acrylic. So you could do acetate. There is thinner acrylic that will definitely fit into these machines. So you can make some acrylic keychains. For example, you know how trendy those music player keychains were, where you could have your very own song. You could definitely do that with the engraving tool, and then you could definitely go back and fill that in with like a white paint so it would really pop off of there. You can engrave on, like I said, acrylic keychain saying I love you, or even a heart. You know those really cool acrylics that have the light, and you can get them blank and they'll just kind of pop down in there, and then you can engrave on those and they're going to light up. You're going to be able to do that, and once again you can either leave it so that way the lights just kind of make it pop off, or you can fill them in with some sort of paint just to help them pop off there, whether it's gold or white. But you can definitely engrave on some stuff. Even on metal, you can engrave on some metal stuff. There is these bracelets that you could grab from Hobby Lobby that you guys can engrave on, and then once you do, you just kind of bend them in place. So you want to make something special, you can engrave on the inside. There's lots of those. I'll try to have that link down below for you guys as well. It actually is made for this like metal stamping tool, but they fit in here perfectly. Some like dog tags, just you name it. There's several different pieces of a thin aluminum that you guys would be able to engrave with this tool here. Our next blade is the debossing blade. So it's just this tiny little like hard plastic piece on the end. Now when it comes to this tool sometimes just seems like, what is it? Why do we need it? Do I need it? And it really looks like nothing because it just has this teensy tiny ball on it, a hard plastic that is actually going to deboss. Now what is debossing? Here's an example right here on some leather, but what this is perfect for is cardstock. So you could definitely create some really awesome business cards, or maybe on that birthday card just to really, it basically, instead of like embossing, it debosses, so it's gonna push it inwards like you're seeing here. So it really is a cool tool. So if that's something that you're wanting to get into, maybe you want to personalize something to where it's kind of embossed down there on a card or something like that, this is going to be the perfect tool for you. Last but not least is the foil tool. I'm so excited to share this tool with you guys today. It is really awesome, and it actually could technically be used as a debossing tool as well. It has 3 different tips, and there is actually one for the Cricut Joy as well. So you can get this exact same guide that comes with all 3 tips for your Cricut Joy. So this is another one that you can get. As of right now, you can only get the fine point blade, and then you can also get the foiling tool for the Cricut Joy. So your foiling tool is in a blue housing. It's going to be the same as loading a blade. You just push it in and you pop these out. It's magnetic, just the same. With the 3 tips, you're going to have one that is large, medium, and fine point, and it's going to be for foiling your project. So for example, here's a card here. These are perfect little graphics that you can use to foil a card. All you're going to need to accomplish this is this foiling tool as well as a piece of foil. I have all of the supplies linked down below for you guys. So you're just going to tape that off using like a washi tape, and then you'll go over it with that design there, and it's going to foil it just like that. You could really technically use any designs to pull this off, any sort of SVGs, and really pull this off, but this is just a perfect example to be able to create cards like this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys just a few more here with a couple of those designs so you guys can kind of see that there. All of the links to the designs that I'm using today are down below. Some of these are free, some of them are plus, and some of them are just from our marketplace. I try to switch it up, as well as the bundle that I had recently released. So once again, you can find all of these down below. But the foiling tool is going to be super cool to really just personalize and customize. You could do birthday cards like this. You can do business cards, wedding invitation, baby shower invitations, lots of different things to foil, and you're just going to love it. You could even foil on leather as well. You don't need any heat. So We Are Memory Keepers did actually make one before Cricut did, and you actually had to plug it into a USB to get it warm and all that, and you don't. So it's really cool. You're just simply going to open up your housing, pop it open, and you're just going to pop it right there in slot B. So it's just going to pop right in there, and you're going to be able to foil. So really excited about that one. I just could not wait to share it with you. It's definitely included in the blades because it's another one of their tools, if you will. Now this is the same, so this one will fit in the Explorer as well as your Maker, and then once again there is a little one for our Cricut Joy, so you can still accomplish those projects with your Cricut Joy. And there you guys have have it. That is the ultimate guide to cover all of the blades that Cricut has to currently offer as of today. The only one that I could not find that I do have but couldn't find was that deep point blade. So I really hope that you guys have found this helpful. Hopefully it gives you guys some examples of things that you guys can make with your Cricut right out of the box, and then maybe you want to upgrade because you plan on cutting fabric with your Cricut Explorer, or maybe with your maker you definitely want to make some of those really fun pull tabs, but maybe you're not going to ever need the debossing or the wavy. I was able to show you guys today what it is for and whether you think it's definitely worth the purchase. So like I said, I hope you guys have found this helpful. If you guys have, definitely let me know down below. And also let me know if you guys have learned something new, or if there's a project that I showed you guys today that you guys cannot wait to make, let me know in the comments below. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you did, please consider hitting the subscribe button as well as that notification bell down below so you don't miss any of our crafting tutorials. Bye for now.